I've worked at Disneyland for 5 long years. I never thought the reason I'd quit was going to be because of something terrifying, you know? When you work in Disneyland, you ignore everything negative about the park. Those dark rumors, you put them aside and believe that they aren't real. When you see children crying or people scared, you ignore it because it happens often, and well, you get used to it. Anyway, I worked in the ride, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. My job was to make sure everything was in its place in the ride, and sometimes I even operated the ride. You know, the people who stand next to the carts and wave off the people as you see them ride off into the darkness of the ride. I remember that it all happened on a Saturday. I don't clearly remember what month or day it was. Sorry about that. Anyways, I woke up, ate breakfast, and drove my way to the happiest place on earth. Everything was fine. It was until my lunch break that things got very strange. I had a 30-minute break and decided to walk around the park for a while. When I was near the main gates that led to the exit, I saw a huge crowd walking towards me. In the middle of the crowd, there was a kid holding onto his mother's hand. As they walked past me, I heard the young boy say, "I saw him, Mom. You have to believe me." I ignored it, thinking it was the usual, you know. Kid saw something like a prop of the park that made him soil his pants. It was normal, so I moved on. As I got to the office that was near the ride that I worked at, I saw one of my colleagues packing up his bag. "Hey man," he said. "Good afternoon. Why are you packing up? Doesn't our shift end at 8? It's barely 5, I replied, confused. "Yeah, about that. Boss wants the park closed early. He said we should be out of the park by 5:30. Oh, and the ride manager said to give one last stroll around the ride and make sure everything is okay," he said. "Do you know why the park is closing so early?" I asked, very confused. There's a lot of rumors. Some people speculate that a kid saw a ghost. Boss says he just got scared of some prop on one of the rides. Do you truly know what he saw? Think I saw the kid on my way here, not sure though, I replied. Don't know, man. Don't really care. I have enough problems of my own at home. Too much stress. Anyways, see you tomorrow, man, he said as he walked out the door. I didn't really think much of it, so I went on and did what the ride manager said to do. I decided to make sure everything was in its place by riding the ride by myself. After all, I was pretty much alone and in charge of the ride at the moment, so I thought, why not? I went over to the counter and started the ride with a little bit more speed than usual. I hopped on and was on my way. Everything was fine, but it wasn't until I passed through the section of the ride where Winnie the Pooh is stuck on the wall of honey, where I noticed something odd. On the platform near Pooh was a strange small bunker sort of door. It looked like something you would have seen in a video game. In the 5 years that I worked there, I never noticed that door. I jumped out of my cart, which by the way is really dangerous, so please, don't do it. Anyway, I examined the door. It was a yellow door, just laying in the floor. It had a big latch on it and a lock, and on top of the door it said, "Do not open." And well, that's pretty much it. I ignored it, thinking it was a room the ride manager has the key to. But as I turned around and waited for another ride train to pass by so I could jump in, I heard a loud bang. I quickly turned around, and in the door were two beady eyes. Yellow, round, small eyes. I quickly recognized that it was Winnie the Pooh. Thinking it was one of my colleagues still in costume, I said, "Whoa, no need for such force, man. You might break the door." But anyways, park is about to close. It's closing early today, so you should go change, man. The silence was insanely loud. Around 2 minutes later, it came out and showed its entirety. I stood there in shock, trying to process what I was seeing. It was Pooh, but he had a mouth with sharp teeth. His mouth was stretched open around 2 feet long. His red shirt was torn, and its feet were huge, like an actual bear's paw, but deformed. I stood there for what felt like hours, terrified, looking directly into its beady eyes. Then it spoke, before I let my instincts take over. "My friends made an appearance today, so why shouldn't I?" As I stared at this monstrosity in front of me, I saw a ride train coming my way. I jumped on it as soon as I had the chance to. As I turned the corner to the birthday party scene of the ride, I heard giant, loud footsteps coming from where I came from, followed with a loud bang and a growl. As I got to the corner of the ride, I jumped out, turned off the ride, got my things, and ran to the exit. When I got to the gates, I took my time to catch my breath before walking to my car. There was nobody around, but the gates were open. My boss then called out from behind me and asked me if everything was alright. I said everything was fine. Then he said one last thing before I left and never returned to Disneyland again. "Things are not what they seem, huh, kiddo? The happiest place on earth?" He looked at me and smirked. "See you tomorrow, kiddo. See you tomorrow," he said. The drive back home felt long, thinking and trying to process what the hell I just saw. When I got home, I felt sick. I laid in bed, and when I woke up the next day, I called to work telling them I quit. They asked a lot of questions, as usual, but I hung up and went about my day. This was 1 year ago, and the reason I posted this story is because as I was doing research, well, let's just say I found a story about what the kids saw that day. I compared it to what I saw, and I don't think it's a coincidence. The words that thing said still send chills down my spine to this day. Please, be careful out there. I have a lot of questions which are going to be left unanswered for a long time. I'm just hoping this story gets out there in time to warn people. Disney has a lot of secrets. Dark, evil, and sinister. Mysterious secrets.